Good morning and welcome to Today in LA. My name is Mike Amos, and we're expecting Bill Rice Sr., Jr. in just a few moments. And of course, he had to drop by and get a little coffee before he came up to the podium this morning. Hope you're doing well on a Tuesday, and we're moving on toward a big college football game between Troy University and Georgia Southern. And these two have become big rivals in the Sun Belt, and Georgia Southern coming off a big win over Arkansas State, and after firing their head coach, because of a little problem he had with some players being riding the bus on the top of the bus, and somebody threw an open container up there. The guy picked it up, started drinking it or whatever. So there's just several things that happened there that caused the coach to lose his job, and that's sad because I knew Coach Lunsford, and he'd been around a long time at the Georgia Southern, and I'm sure the situation has been taken care of, and hopefully all parties are go now with South Alabama. I mean, not South Alabama, but Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern has a rich tradition, and ever since they moved into Class 1A, NCAA class number 1A. They have been very competitive, and of course have built quite a program at Georgia Southern. But it is a tough situation to lose a coach over some crazy thing that a player did, and that's the way it works. And they've got a new interim coach, and evidently doing pretty well. He scored 59 points this past weekend, so he's hit the ground running. Of course, we've got some other big games. How about this one? Georgia and Auburn going at it, and it surprised me a little bit that they played this time of the year. For some reason, I thought they played later in the year, but Georgia will come into that game with a they're undefeated, and Georgia is look at him, I'm having a hard time reading this thing this morning, but the Georgia Bulldogs are 14.5-point favorite over Auburn. I tell you, the Auburn team I watched this past weekend is a pretty competitive, a very competitive football team, but at the same time, Auburn is a very competitive football team, and that game's going to be on TV. That's going to be a great game.
Yeah.
Auburn and Georgia, and of course now I don't know.
I'm not counting Auburn out at Jordan-Hare.
Yeah, you're right, and
if Bo Nix can build on that momentum he got from his gutsy play.
I tell you what, he made 3 or 4 gutsy plays. It looked like Johnny Manziel out there, the former Texas A&M guy that did so many things. He's a great athlete, but I don't think he can do that against Georgia.
He's going to have to, though.
I know it. He's going to have to do that, but Georgia
that's right.
is awfully good.
Their defense is awfully good. I guess.
And their offensive line is awfully good, too. They're big. They're just big and strong up front on both sides of the ball. They're really a good football team.
That's where you want to be, good up front on both sides of the ball, right?
Yes, sir. Of course, last night I didn't get to make it. I had some things to come up last night that I couldn't be there for the singers last night.
Oh no.
One of my favorite groups, the Beach Boys, were in town last night, and
a tribute band that was singing Beach Boys.
Well, I know it, but at least they were singing. They were acting like Beach Boys, and it was a great show. From what I gathered, talking to a friend of mine this morning, bright and early, he said it was a good crowd there, so that was good.
Good. I appreciate anybody.
And it was actually free. You didn't have to pay anything to get in. And boy, what entertainment can you get? As the Arts Council is allowing everybody free admittance to all their events this year.
Well, thank you, Arts Council.
Now, does that include one big question? Is that does that include our Christmas show?
Oh, I don't know.
You know,
is that an Arts Council event?
Yes, sir. It's an Arts Council.
Sheila
Jackson, and of course the great one, and she's going to have her Christmas show again, as she has always, probably for the last 10 years.
Well, we got a wonderful Arts Council, and we appreciate what they're doing, and that was a neat event, and they picked a good group to let fans listen to, because everybody likes Beach Boys songs.
Oh yeah, no question about it, and I'm sure there was a lot of girls screaming last night. You reckon?
Probably.
Because they are quite a group, and you know, they came along about the same time the Four Seasons came along. They were singing more or less California beach music, more or less, and then of course,
I think it's two brothers and some cousins.
Yeah,
they were all kind of kin to each other, except for one of them.
One of them was a great writer.
They all went almost to the same high school, and their dad was a musician. But all the stars aligned perfectly, because they are extremely talented. Their harmonies was so good.
Oh yeah, exactly. And then, you know, the Four Seasons were from the Jersey area, New York and Jersey area, so they came from different modes of life. You know, those kids from California Sun in California, and then from the jazz, I mean the New Jersey sound of the Four Seasons, and I like both of them. I've seen this rendition of the Four Seasons 3 or 4 times. Have you ever seen it?
Nope, but I bet
boy, they really are good. If you ever get a chance, catch them. And you usually can catch them in Atlanta around the Christmas season.
You like movies. There was a good movie about Brian Wilson.
And that's who it was, yeah.
Of the Beach Boys, and his life after the Beach Boys was really bizarre. And John Cusack, a lot of people remember the actor John Cusack. He played the Beach Boy, and it's an interesting movie. It goes into his mental health issues, and he had kind of this savant guru that literally took control of his life. Wouldn't let him do things he wouldn't want to do, and it was almost like he was a prisoner. So he had to overcome this and this guy. But it also does a good job of showing how he made their most influential album, which is an album called Pet Sounds, and shows that he was a musical genius. And actually that album, the Pet Sounds album, which I finally bought after watching this movie, I said, wow, I gotta get this. It influenced the Beatles, were big admirers of the Beach Boys, and that influenced them to do their Sgt. Pepper's and some of their greatest albums. They said, boy, the Beach Boys are really turning it up, doing some neat original things. We've got to kind of break through and be innovative too. So these bands were competing with each other.
Yeah, I know it. Boy, I tell you, it's a big week for the Auburn Tigers, and let's see what he's got to say this morning. Here's Albie, and the Auburn Tigers are coming to town. They're coming to Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn to host the Georgia Bulldogs. Big game this weekend. The Auburn Tigers going up against the Georgia Bulldogs, and that game can be seen right here on Troy Cablevision and a lot of other networks to choose from, as that's going to be quite a football game with Auburn and Georgia. But first of all, Rice, I wanted to get into to our high school scores of the past week. I don't want to miss out on anybody here, but Thompson of Alabaster is the number 3 or 2 or 3 team in the nation. From Thompson High School of Alabaster, they're the number 2 team in the nation. Well, they took a proud tradition from Vestavia Hill to beat them 49-7 this past weekend. So they're very good. Prattville beat Enterprise also. That was another game I wanted to mention.
Prattville beat Enterprise.
Yeah,
What score?
17-16.
Well,
Pretty close game, wasn't it?
You think most of the games nowadays are runaways, but that was.
And I've got a feeling the coach probably went for two here. I didn't read into the article or anything. Dothan beat Carroll of Ozark 29-15. So Phoenix City beat Auburn 21-7. In other games, I want to mention real quick.
That was a good day for the Nix family. Coach Nix got a big win.
Oh yeah.
They beat Auburn, you said?
Yeah, that's right. He's got another son coming out, doesn't he?
Auburn was #1 in the state, I think.
Now he's at Central of Phoenix City, and that's right. They beat Auburn. Yeah, they beat Auburn, who is one of the top teams in the state.
Yeah, well, good. So
and beat them good too.
Then he goes down to Baton Rouge and watches his son beat LSU.
That's right. He sure was. Eufaula in Class 6A beat Valley 33-0. So that was a big win for Coach there, and of course he's sort of one of our favorites. We know him pretty well, and Rigsby, and he and his wife do a great job.
And they've got also Rodney Jordan is on their staff, and he that was a great lineman at Troy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, no question about it. Opelika beat Russell County 52-35 in Class 5A. Andalusia beat Headland 41-2. Greenville beat Rehoboth 33-14. The other games, Pike Road walloped Charles Henderson 60-6. So Charles Henderson's really having a hard time right now with those kind of scores. Want to mention also Tallahassee beat Beauregard 35-7. UMS Wright beat Faith 34-28. These are just some of the random scores that I wanted to give you. This and now looking at 4A, we've got no teams in our area in 4A. Most all of the 4A schools.
Well, let's talk about area.
Now we do have one. Geneva beat Strawn 34-21.
Guten Morgen.
Morning.
And you said that Elba blew out Geneva County, and that Michael, you said that running back for Geneva County.
He did not play. He did not play. But I bet he's glad he didn't with that kind of score, you know. But I tell you,
we need to find out who the head coach of Elba is, who the head coach of Lou Byrne are. They've both got really good teams this year.
I know they sure do. Have they played each other yet?
I don't think so.
Okay, let me finish these scores real quick.
Still hard to believe that Elba's 1A.
I know it. I think, yeah, I know it. Some other games in 1A, and there's just not a lot of 4A schools in this area for some reason. St. James beat Booker T. Washington. In Class 3A, we've got Dadeville beat Goshen 59-0. They've been on hard times lately. The other score in our area, Hillcrest 37, Linden 0.
It would be interesting to add up the point totals of Charles Henderson, Goshen, and Pike County High School. The points scored and points given up this year.
Well, let's see. Here it is. Montgomery Catholic.
To 100.
Montgomery Catholic beat Pike County 63-0. How in the world does that happen to our proud team? All right, let's look at the score. It's nothing to be proud of, but we got to get our act better in that classification. I was looking here. Geneva beat Strawn 34-24.
I would like to see Catholic versus Pike Road. That would be maybe.
Pike Road. Let's see. Pike Road beat Charles Henderson 60-6. All right, and then there's one more. It's a Goshen score.
You've already said that. They got beat bad.
I know, but I was just going to.
59-0 or 59-6 or something.
Yeah, let's see.
What about Ayrton? Did they play last week? They beat.
Yeah, they won. They won. They're a pretty good football team, no question.
It might be one of the all-time great teams.
What classification is Goshen, Mike? Do you know?
They're 3A.
Are they 3A? Okay, that's why we missed it. Here we go, 59-0. So our teams, they were not very good this past weekend.
Well, we got beat 59-0, 60-6, and
63-0. Yeah.
So that added up.
We always got Pint Lib to fall back on.
Yeah, we do. Pike Lib
Pike
won.
Lib.
That's right. They won, and won in a big way. Looking at some, a lot of scores are in the beat Providence Christian 41-18. There, Ops doing real well.
Coach DeBose having a good year. I have to check on Ops overall record. The great Mike DeBose.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He's done well at Op. Really has. Slocum beat New Brockton 35-7. And of course, T.R. Mello beat Excel for 39-0. So I'm wondering if Leroy looked at that score there.
Leroy Jordan?
Yeah. All right.
You gave me some Alabama football books. I guess you're cleaning out your house after your disaster.
Yeah.
And you had got them. I remember we had an estate sale, and I sold a bunch of books, and you got.
And a lot of them were signed by Coach Bryant.
Yeah.
that would have made it better, you know.
You, bless your heart, you gave them back, and this was one on families that had played for Alabama, the brothers and parents, like the Hannahs.
Yeah.
And I've been reading it, Mike.
I know.
That Hannah family is a fascinating family. There were 3 Hannah boys that played football at Alabama. 2 of them later played in the NFL. John Hannah's the best offensive lineman ever, I would say.
Yeah, no question about it.
But also their daddy played football, and their Uncle Bill played football.
Yeah.
So there were 5.
Hannah played 1 season for the Giants. We read that one.
Yeah, but it's weird. Mr. Hannah that had a agricultural supply business in Albertville.
That's right.
He was real poor, and he went into the Navy in World War II, and he was in the Navy. He said, I'm going to college. Everybody that amounts to is successful goes to college. Well, he played a little service football, hardly knew anything about football, but he was big and athletic, and he got out of the Navy, and he played at Alabama. You know how old he was when he played at Alabama? 26.
He was a grown man, wasn't he? Uh-huh.
So he played 3 or 4 years at Alabama, and he was almost 30 years old when he finished at Alabama. Played in the late 40s, and he got drafted, and he played one year with the Giants. They wanted him to keep playing, but he had a family, and he wasn't making. They don't pay those players much, so he went back and started a business.
Well, John, was his nickname Hog, or was it Daddy's nickname Hog Hannah?
John's nickname was Hog. So anyway, his daddy came into football late and played. He played with probably Bobby Marlowe's when he played.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And then his brother, Mr. Hannah's brother, Bill Hannah, played for Ears Whitworth
at Alabama.
When it was terrible, and then he quit and went to the Navy for 1 year, but he came back and played in Coach Bryant's first 2 years.
Are you serious?
So he played with my dad. I never knew that.
I didn't either. We're talking about his dad.
John Hannah's uncle.
Yeah.
Played and helped turn Alabama around from this awful team to a good team. And he was a good player that became a coach. And he died, Mike, in a plane crash in 1971. He was the coach at some small college in California, and he was going on a scouting trip, and the plane crashed, and he died.
Oh boy, I didn't know that.
He had just been named, or was going to be an assistant on John McKay's staff at USC.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
I learned stuff about the Hannahs.
Yes, you sure did.
And David Hannah, the least successful one,
he played in the pros.
He was on the goal line stand game. He was on that defensive line, helped make those plays. Well, he had bad knee injuries this whole time, so he played, but his career was hurt by those knee injuries. But he was a Sigma Nu. I was a Sigma Nu.
Oh yeah, your fraternity brother.
And then Charlie, to finish up my Hannah story, he was a great defensive lineman at Alabama. All SEC, played with Bom Hauer. Went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they were the expansion team. His first couple years, Mike, he was a defensive lineman. His 3rd or 4th year, they switched him to offensive tackle in the middle of his football career, and he later became a very good offense.
yeah.
Now, how often do you see somebody make that?
How many years did he play in the pros? He played
About 10 or 11.
Yeah, I knew it. Pretty
he
good
later
range.
played for the Raiders. He won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He was not in Brother John's league, but he was very
He was
good.
good, I'm sure he was. I wonder if he had those big old calves like John had.
Well, Charlie was tall.
I met him before. He looks just like John.
Yeah.
Charlie was the
Yeah.
tall one. He was 6'5" or 6'6", and
Yeah.
John was about 6'2" or 6'3". They said John's leg. His mother said when he was in junior high, they could never buy him clothes off the rack because his thighs were so.
That's right. Couldn't get in there.
They said one thigh was 33 inches. He said most people's waist on it does not even get 33 inches.
That's right. I want to mention some of these 2A scores. Arrington again is.
How about this though, Dad? I just didn't realize this. Off, it's 6-1, 4-0 in the area, 3A area. They're only lost 33-28 to Elba, so they've had a great.
Yeah, they sure have. And Coach DuBose, congratulations. Mike DuBose is a friend of mine and former great player at Alp High School and later on the University of Alabama and later on coached at Alabama.
He would have
head
played
coach.
with John Hanna and Charlie Hanna too, probably.
That's right. Arrington beat Abbeville, and just to tell you how Arrington is red hot, 49-6 over a good Abbeville team. And, it's just amazing how good this Arrington team is. Elba is 40 right now, beat Geneva County, and all those great players over there, including the one that signed for.
The number one running back in America, allegedly.
That's right. But he didn't play in the game. Elba won that one 47-7. GW Long beat Zion Chapel 49-0. Highland Home lost to Isabella in overtime, 24-8. That was a tough one for Highland Home. Other games, Luverne beat Calhoun 45-0. I wonder when they play each other. I'm gonna be interested in when Elba plays, or if they do play GW Long, and also if they do play Arrington.
Arrington is.
But
it helps to watch some of these teams in person. So we went to one game, and I mean, it didn't take you long to say that if you know anything about football, you say that's a good all-around football team.
No question about it. Now that's in 2A. Elba moved up to 2A now, Mike. You'll get it. So they're playing 2A. Brandley.
Here's the game to mark on your calendar on October the 15th. Elba and Arrington plays.
Whoa, boy! Arrington.
That is a good one to
That's
mark.
October the 15th. We need to mark that one.
Y'all know something else coming up before I lose my train of thought. A lot of good football games this weekend, college football. We'll be talking about it. You know what else is Saturday night, Michael?
You got Wilder and
The Fair.
Yep, Wilder and Fury, the Bronze Bomber from Tuscaloosa, their third fight, and they're hyping it big time now. Last night they showed on Fox Sports South, some channel they showed the first two fights. So I've rewatched the first two fights, and I'm looking forward to the third fight.
And that's going to be this Saturday night.
Yeah, I think probably in Vegas, and the Fury is from Great Britain. He's a real character. He is funny and
he's bigger.
He's bigger than Wilder. He's 6'9", 250 pounds. Wilder's 6'7", 220.
I know it. But still, it's hard to get into this guy's arms are so long you can hardly get in there.
He's got such a good jab. He just keeps it down by his waist, but that's where he doesn't look like he's hitting you that hard, but he is. And he really did a number on Wilder in their rematch.
Yeah.
They threw in his Wilder didn't quit. His corner threw in the towel in the seventh round.
Yeah, he's got new trainers, and I don't think he liked him throwing in the towel, so he got rid of his trainers after that fight.
Well, they probably saved his life.
Being put in the hospital the rest of your life.
Yeah, because he was
all right, one more score. I've got to remember. People from Brantley won't ever forgive me. Class 1A Brantley 46, undefeated. Sampson 18. So Brantley won that battle of unbeaten teams, and Brantley looks.
Would you like to see Brantley and Arrington?
I noticed that Red Level beat Georgiana 22-14. Some other games. I want you to remember this. Sweetwater. I bet you it comes down to Brantley and Sweetwater for the state championship. I bet.
Might be.
Unless Fife's in here. Where's Fife? Fife is always the top team in that league.
The documentary on the great SEC radio announcers. Jim Fife was one of the ones they.
How about John Forney? Was he
mentioned?
mentioned?
They mentioned him and Bramblett at Auburn that died in the tragic car
that
wreck.
was sad.
Munson, of course, was kind of the main one.
Hunker down dogs.
Mississippi State had one. These announcers are funny. A lot of them they're the biggest fans in the world of their team.
I think that this Georgia Auburn game has snuck. I reckon that's a word, and it has snuck up on me, man. I didn't realize they played this week until I picked up the paper yesterday. Mike, that's going to be quite a game.
Yeah, listening to the show yesterday when I said, well, we don't have to wait but a week for Auburn to lose the game.
Well, you just feel like it's automatic. You feel like it's automatic.
Mm-hmm. A lot of Georgia people are down here on fall break, and I can't get over actually how many people are down here. It's like it never ends, and I guess it's good for me. But anyway, I was talking to a Georgia fan yesterday, and he pulled out the old Pat Dye comment and said Auburn's not man enough to beat Georgia.
That was a Georgia fan?
I remember when Pat Dye made that statement.
Pat Dye said that on Five Bomb that time when Alabama was playing Georgia, and he said that Georgia wasn't bad enough to beat Alabama.
Alabama lost their number 2 running back, Jazz McClellan is out for the year, Mike. Out for the year.
Knee injury too.
Yeah, and I found out the great running back, the 5-star running back out of Texas, had a torn meniscus at the start of camp. So he's not going to be able to factor in either. So basically, looking at Rodell Williams, the kid out of Hueytown. He had 110 yards rushing against Southern Miss. And then you got Trey Sanders, who's recovering from a hip injury from a car accident. And the year before, he broke his foot. So
at one time he was
a lot of depth at running back. But now one of their running backs is at Texas that transferred, and I think he's rushed for 200 yards at Texas. What was his name? Colin Robinson?
Yeah.
He went from an abundance of talent to kind of getting scary all of a sudden. That's what coaches always say is you cannot have too many running backs. But shame on our, not shame, but I wish we had some reporters that had told us all along that Alabama had this number 1 or 2 running back prospect, and nobody knew. His name never came up. Well, as it turns out, he hasn't even been cleared to practice. The guy hadn't even practiced all for 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Because he came down. I read an article yesterday. They've even talked about Josh Monroe or Milroy, whatever the third-string quarterback is. He's just an unbelievable athlete. I don't know if y'all seen him on the field, but the dude is just jacked. I mean, looks like he's like a fifth-year senior. He's so strong looking. But they even talked about maybe playing him at running back if they needed to.
I saw that they were talking about emergency running backs, moving some defensive back or wide receiver is what they usually do. But I hadn't thought about that.
Mike, are you talking about?
That's your idea right there, man. Put that guy at running back.
Are you talking about the kid that's such a good running back prospect from Texas? You're not talking about him, are you?
Yeah, I'm talking about Wheaton.
All right, now what is this kid that's running back from Texas? Is he hurt or what?
There's a running back that left Alabama and now is playing for Sarkeesian at Texas.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
Transfer portal.
And then there's a quarterback at Alabama that's from Texas that's an unbelievable.
Okay, all right, that's what I was thinking about. They might use him running back.
Like more athletic looking than Jalen Hurts. I mean,
man,
looks like he's just like phenomenal. I can't believe they don't.
He's what these teenagers around here call ripped. Is that right? He's ripped.
You know who did that is Texas pre-Sark. He still might be on the team. Had a quarterback that they converted to a running back, and he's pretty good. So Alabama might have to do the. You're probably right. Yeah. I bet they do the exact same thing.
Mike, before we get it,
this is really high praise here. AL.com comes out with their top 25 ranked best Alabama high school football teams, regardless of the classification. So, at number 25, they have a 1A school. Guess who it is?
No, I know the bunch up in North Alabama.
No, it's our own Brantley Bulldogs.
Oh, really? Okay. What the team? You're talking about team?
Brantley is 5-0, and they are considered the top 25 team in the whole state.
It'll good for them.
Regardless of the classification.
And their quarterback, Tucker Gilchrist, is one of the great quarterbacks out there, too. Mm-hmm. And it's already committed to Troy, and, he's a good football player.
Great baseball player, too.
Yeah, I know exactly right.
They got Montgomery Catholic 7-0. They're 11th best team in the whole state. Then after that, your top 10 is number 10 and 5-0 Fife. So
Fife is always good.
Fife, but he's been phenomenal for several years.
Oh, he really has. Running between the tackles. Yeah.
Then you got Hewitt Trustwell's 9th on the list. Auburn High School 6-1. They're number 8 on the list. It's the best teams in the state, regardless of classification. Hartsville is 7-0. They're number 7. Pike Road at number 6 overall.
Yeah.
Wow, 6-0. And then after that, you've got Clay Topville, coached by Adam Helms, the local kid out of choice defense coordinator there. They're 6-0. So they're considered the 5th best team. Theodore, you haven't heard that name in a long time, is 6-0. They're considered the 4th best team in the state. Then after that, Central Phoenix City, led by Patrick Nix, considered the 3rd best team in the state. And then after that, the Hoover Bucks are having a really good year. Midwood got Hoover at 7-0, and then I'm sure they will clash with number 1.
Do they play in regular season, Mike, or will they be in the playoffs?
No, they'll definitely play regular season. They're in the same area.
All right, boy, that's going to be a great game when they play.
What,
no
Hoover
question.
and Thompson?
Yeah. Boy, we got some great.
All I know about Thompson is they have that defensive end outside linebacker, right? That's the number 1 prospect in Alabama. Man, that guy, you talk about some players being overrated, that guy is not overrated. He is the Lawrence Taylor of high school football.
Has he committed?
To Alabama, yeah.
Oh, man.
And he is going to be like Cornelius Bennett going straight to Alabama and starting.
Well, let me ask you a personal question. I like to get this attention that way. Tell me about how would he compare with the running back from Geneva County?
That running back from Geneva County will run from this guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're joking because we went down there to see this kid play Arrington, and Arrington held him to 25 yards in the first half.
He had what do they call it when he was a pass? I remember a pass was going to him, and then he shied away and he was getting ready to get hit.
Yeah. But he didn't play the second half against Arrington.
I want to defend this kid. We're told that about 6 to 12 of his players were out, teammates were out with COVID, so he might not have any blockers. But blockers or no blockers, he is way overrated. I mean, maybe now I have thought he is big and he is fast, and we didn't see him play defense. If he's not afraid, they might move him to safety.
Oh, he's a great athlete, and like you said,
be able to cover some field in the back and play free safety or strong safety. But he's not going to be a running back.
Somebody told me he's a sprint champion. He's a great track guy too, and is going to be a great player, I'm sure, at Alabama. But like he said, this guy looks like Hercules compared to this young man. Is that right?
Man, I've just seen just some video clips, and every video clip I've seen of this linebacker for Thompson, it's like he's a man among children, of course, but he plays with such intensity and like he just does not. It's almost like the water boy in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. The water boy.
I'm going to kill people when they play.
Hey,
so he knocks over the offensive tackle, and then he sticks the quarterback, or he races and chases him down.
Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. I've never tried to tell you how good a player I was, but something I would like to share with you. When I got ready to come into the football game, it says he's ready to go into the game, and when I finally let me go in, and the announcer said Helm is in the football game. Helm at right tackle gains for 10-15 yards for a touchdown. him, and when they call you him instead of call out your name, you're pretty good.
That's what they do with you?
Yeah. Not really, but he said when him is ready to go into the football game.
He's going in. It's
He is in the game, and him gets the football and scores a touchdown.
I'll tell you a story about we're talking about star high school players. The great high school running back of my era was a guy named Don Horsted from Elba.
He was really good.
And Elba was not a 1A school back then. They were the exact same as Charles Henderson. They were 3A. We were in the same region. I was a scrub on that team. So Elba, undefeated, plays Charles Henderson in Memorial Stadium, almost sold out. I'm here to tell you. And Horsted had an ankle injury, and so you didn't know if he was going to play. Well, they finally put him in, and it was like they put him in.
Yeah, he's in the ball game.
So everybody goes, oh, and all our fans go, oh.
Him at right tackle, failed, gained 14 yards.
You know, I remember, if I remember correctly, the first time they handed it to Horsted, he went for about 15 yards and almost broke it for a touchdown. And somebody tripped him up. Yeah. He re-aggravated that ankle injury.
I remember that game, and
so we beat Elba, but I only think Horsted only ran it 2 or 3 times. So maybe if John Horsted was not hurt, we might not have beaten Elba.
And you could tell he was playing with one leg, and he just, I mean, this is Ted's brother, Mike, Don Horsted. And
I remember when he played at Alabama.
Don, he played at Elba or he played Op?
He played at Elba.
Oh, okay.
He played at Elba. I remember when he played for Alabama.
Op had Tim Jesse, who played at
that's
Auburn.
right, sure did.
So Charles Henderson played against some great running backs.
And he played at Auburn.
He also played against Andrew Gilder, who played played for Alabama.
Gilder played at San Jose Elmore, and was a great player.
So that was 3 SEC running backs.
Right from that thing, I was seeing on Facebook the other day, they were making comments to the 61 national championship team that your dad was on. And there's that famous picture of all the players. Who are they with? Are they with President Kennedy?
The captains and all of those guys got after they won the national championship got to meet President Kennedy.
And also, let me tell you this.
Was your dad there as well? All the players?
No, that was some special event, probably a banquet somewhere, but just with Pat Tramble probably and Billy Neighbors.
Let me tell you something.
Neighbors,
let me.
As great of a player as everybody made him out to be. Did your dad always say he was a great player?
He was a great player.
You didn't mess with Billy Neighbors. And,
of course, he weighed about 250, and back then that was huge.
He was the closest thing to John Hanna Alabama had before John Hanna, who was Billy Neighbors.
But John Hanna John Hanna is a man among men, boys.
Were 190 pounds, Dad weighed 215.
Your dad was one of the big guys.
Billy Neighbors was 240, 250, wasn't tall, like 5'11", but just like a tree trunk.
Yeah, the name I was trying to.
He was a line, I think a guard, and he just mowed people down, and he was a great defensive tackle, and he had a big time, really good NFL career for about 9 or 10 years too. So Dad and Neighbors were they were good friends and key players.
You're probably in college with his son Wes, weren't you?
Yeah. He was Bobby's age. He had there were a lot of neighbors too. It was Billy Neighbors. He had an older brother that had played with Ears Whitworth. This is a funny story in your book. It's in your book. Thank you for this book. Billy Neighbors' big brother was a big, important player on these sorry Ears Whitworth teams. Coach Bryant comes in, spring training. It's almost like the Junction Boys Part 2. They almost killed all those guys. Thankfully, my dad was a senior at high school and didn't have to go through that. He was going to be a freshman in a couple of months. But the story is, and too many people told it for it not to be true, Bryant wanted people that were not fat, thin, that were in shape and quick. And Sid Neighbors was his name.
That's right.
And he said,
well known,
he was a big boy too. He was about 240, 250, and Coach Bryant said they weighed him, and he said, Sid, I want you to come back at 220 or 210. And I think he had been 250. And so Sid lost some weight. He lost about 25 pounds, but he didn't make the weight that Coach Bryant wanted. And he said you cannot practice until you get to this weight. And so Sid Neighbors, Billy Neighbors' brother, a good football player, quit the team.
Oh no, yeah.
And so the funny story is, it said the next in line when they were weighing him was Sid's little brother, a freshman at Alabama,
And Billy.
240.
Yeah.
And he weighed in at 240, and Coach Bryant said, "That's fine."
Yeah. That's right. That's right. He was one of the all-time greats. Let me tell you somebody that I was thinking about the other day, and my memory is not as good.
Billy must have been better.
My memory is not as good, but it will tickle you a little bit. One of the greatest running backs of all time at Alabama was named Cotton Clark.
Yeah.
And he was on that 61 team. And but from a little bitty town called Dallas, they didn't Cotton Clark. I mean, he was from Dallas, Alabama, and then there was a boy up the road named Billy Richardson. The running back was from a little town up there called Jasper. He was from Jasper.
Bills and Williams. There was Billy Neighbors, Billy Rice, Billy Richardson, Billy Williamson. There were about 5 of them. There was once a picture. My grandmother saved it. There was a picture in the Birmingham News of all the Bills that were on that team. There were about 5 or 6. And Coach Bryant with all the Bills. He was.
Yeah. But in fact,
but
I'll
the best
tell
Bill
you,
of them all was not Bill Rice. It was Billy Neighbors.
Yeah, but let me tell you this: along with Cotton Clark, he came from Carbon Hill, Alabama, a little town called Carbon Hill, and then they played against the Jaspers and the people like that. But I just wanted to point that out, that the 2 running backs at one time in the same backfield was Cotton Clark and Billy Richardson.
And they had another guy that got hurt.
We're talking about the great one, Mike Frocky. Boy.
And you talk about Dad. He did talk about who were the great players. It was Billy Neighbors, Leroy Jordan, Mike Frocky.
That's right,
About.
But
then they had great players like Carl Hobson. Everybody remembers the realtor.
And he quit too. He won
he
a
was
great
an All-American, a great player. Played a year or 2, but then he left. Travis Casey, Bud Casey, was an All-American from Dothan.
Sure was.
That played a year or 2 and then transferred.
See, he was told he weighed 250 or something like that, and he was told to get down to 219, and or he couldn't play. That's what he told him.
In your book, this is by a guy named Mike Ford.
Yeah.
Coach Bryant didn't recruit all these guys. He had some assistants that he was still at Texas A&M coaching.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they recruited them, but they recruited them. I always knew there were a ton of players that came in. This guy in the book says that there were 84 people in Dad's signing class.
Oh man, that was a bump.
That was
they could sign anybody, couldn't they?
And transfers.
Yeah.
So probably 70 something.
And
I would say that 4 or 5 years later, when they won the national championship, 8 were left out of it. So
I'll tell you the way.
Did Bud always tell you, Dad, he beat up the wrong fraternity boy? A lot of power at the university.
Yeah,
probably did.
Bud had a little incident with a couple of fraternity boys that were barbecuing outside. Yeah, he was bad about stuff like that. He stole their barbecue. Now that you don't do that to anybody. And he stole their barbecue off the grill. So. It tickles me, but it wasn't really a nice thing to do. But that's why don't do it near Bride Hall. You're gonna cook barbecue. You need to find another place to eat.
That's all in that book, because in the chapter on Billy Neighbors, they make a big deal about how Alabama goes from being awful. They won 3 games the prior 3 years, if you can believe that, to winning the national championship, but. Freshmen couldn't play, so they bring in those 84 players, and they do good as a freshman team. Yeah. And then the next year, sophomores could play.
Yeah. But
they called them the super sophomores. There were about 4 or 5 guys that immediately came in and played and started. And it was one of them was Billy Neighbors, but one of them was Billy Rice.
That's right.
Started every game as a sophomore and made the all. Back then they had the all freshman team. They had the all sophomore team, and Dad and Billy Neighbors both made the all sophomore team.
No question about it. In those early Bryant days, one of his best ball players, and he loved him, was Marlon Scooter Dice from Elba, Alabama, and Mac Wise from Elba, Alabama. Can you believe that? 2 running backs from Elba, Alabama, Marlon Scooter Dice and Mac.
Scooter Dice, he scored the touchdown against Auburn that beat Auburn when he was a sophomore.
And he was a great one. He was real fast and everything. And of course, Mac was also, in fact, Mac was the first player to ever score a touchdown under Coach Bryant.
Is that right?
He's the first guy to do it. That's right. And they lives in Luverne, Alabama, and great guy, great man. And of course, Marlon Scooter Dice lives in Montgomery. And what 2 great players were. Let me say something about this Alabama team under when Leroy Jordan was playing linebacker. He was a junior. He was, and they were playing Oklahoma in the I want to say it was the Orange Bowl, and they had a running back for Oklahoma named Joe Don Looney. Okay. Joe Don Looney was everybody's All-American. Well, little old country boy from Exhale, Alabama.
Former teammate of Mr. Hancock.
Oh yeah. In fact, he was the other running back next to our linebacker next to Larry Hancock. But of course, in that ball game, they played Oklahoma, and President Kennedy came down for that game. He was watching that game. And everybody was talking about Joe Don Looney for Oklahoma, and coach, they were coached by the legendary coach at Oklahoma, the great one.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, my mind's really messed up now.
Bud Wilkinson.
Bud Wilkinson, the great Bud Wilkinson. Well, Leroy had a pretty good afternoon. Leroy made 33 individual tackles that day, playing linebacker. That's where the old saying that Coach Bryant said, if he's between the sidelines, Leroy will get him, from sideline to the sideline. And sure enough, he made 33 tackles. And President Kennedy left the game before it was all over with, but if he'd stayed for the most valuable player, that most valuable player in that game was a junior from Exhale, Alabama, little Exhale, Alabama, named Leroy Jordan.
And back, Leroy Jordan, he played both ways. Yeah. He played center and linebacker.
We've got on a big Alabama deal right now, but we want to talk about Auburn and Georgia.
Well, let's talk about some of the old. I'll tell you, we can talk about Auburn's football coach. They're going to build a statue to him. One Patrick Thane Dye.
Are they building something for him? He should.
Dedicating it. And then also Suge Jordan and Mr. Hare, the stadium, Jordan Hare Stadium. Yeah. So I didn't know this. They have built 3 statues outside the stadium, like Alabama has those statues of coaches.
I think that's great.
Yeah, and it's going to be Coach Jordan, Coach Dye, and Cliff Hare.
And we can go back into
I think they're going to be dedicated this Saturday, so it would be appropriate to dedicate these statues and then pull a huge upset.
Well, I tell you what, it's going to be a huge football game. Mike, you ready to really give us your opinion right after this?
Check out the scoreboard. J.D. Power's #1 in initial quality midsize truck. Jeep Gladiator. 0 APR for 36 months. And no payments for 90 days. Shop PremierTroy.com today during Jeep Adventure Days and save thousands. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody. Run it.
Welcome to ESPN College Football.
This is going to be wild. Run it.
We're celebrating our Driver Appreciation Week. We're so happy to have Truckworks here.
We just want to recognize Truckworks for what they do for us. Absolute great partners. They've really stepped up here on Driver Appreciation Week. They came in here, and I mean, not hamburgers and hot dogs, Boston butts, and the grilled chicken, the really, really prima stuff. So, man, we so much appreciate you guys and what you do for us.
Wallace Sanders Truck Line, we know one thing. Drivers first.
The 11th Annual Riverwalk Wine Festival will be held Friday, October 8th at the Union Station Train Shed. Join the City of Montgomery's Department of Cultural Affairs for an evening of wine tasting, food vendors, and live jazz downtown. Tickets for this charity event are $30, and proceeds will benefit the Family Sunshine Center. Visit mgmcityevents.com today to order your tickets for the 11th annual Riverwalk Wine Festival, happening Friday, October 8th.
Check out the scoreboard. J.D. Power's #1 in initial quality truck. Ram. #1 longest lasting truck. Ram. Right now, get 0% APR for 72 months on new Ram. Shop PremierTroy.com during Ram Power Days and save. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
Back to our show, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we got a big football game this weekend. Troy hosts Georgia Southern. And Mike, I was fixing to say, if this was a week, 2 weeks before now, I would say, well, I think we can get Georgia Southern. We can get Georgia Southern. But they came in and they just ripped a good Arkansas State team. Tell us about that.
Oh, Arkansas State's only won one game.
But I mean, they're a good offensive football team, though, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, they scored some points. Georgia Southern's got an interim coach. Chad Lunsford, I guess, got replaced after 4 games. But I think Troy can still beat Georgia Southern. I mean, I think Troy could win against Georgia Southern. I think they could go on the road and beat Texas State.
Well, Mike, let me.
Offensively, you got to be able to score points though against both of those teams. So
Yeah.
Troy's going to have to lean on the running game like they did this week. You know, they rushed for over 150 yards against South Carolina.
He did. He rushed for that.
The team did.
The team did.
The team did. Yeah, they rushed like I think 155. DJ Smith had about 103. I think, you know, the kid out of Gaston City that can really fly, Woods, had about 50 yards rushing.
You know, it seems like they'd have some real competition there with those 3 running backs. That's not those are 3 pretty good running backs, aren't they? Troy's got.
Well, Vidal's hurt, so I don't know what's going on with that. You know, Charles Strong, the guy that was
Yeah, I know it.
back 4-star recruit from A&M, Texas A&M, transferred to Troy. I think he's from like Lake Butler, Florida. He played a little bit last year, running back. You know, he's just a special teams guy. So.
And he's a big back. He's a real big back.
I saw DK Billingsley on the field.
Boy, oh boy, that's a lot of running backs, I tell you.
You know, and DK Billingsley rushed for about 1,000 yards about 2 years ago.
Now, tell me, let me ask this: what happened?
Arkansas State's 1-4. So I mean, you know, Georgia Southern beating Arkansas State's not that big.
How bad they beat them though?
I'll have to pull up the score.
It was 50. I want to say they had 40-some points in the first half.
I read this stat. Arkansas State has the 2nd worst rush defense in America. You know who has the worst rush defense? I bet if you think about it, you'll get it. In America by a large margin.
Oh, God, Arkansas.
Who put it on? Who did Tennessee put it on? Missouri.
Oh, yeah.
They're allowing about 320 yards a game rushing.
Yeah.
That's not the whole defense.
Right now in Vegas, Georgia Southern 2-3 against Troy, 2-3 in Troy this weekend at 6 slots. The line started at 3. Troy's a 3-point favorite. The line has now gone up to 4.5.
Golly. They think they can. Are they playing the wishbone? Do they run the wishbone at Georgia Southern?
They run the option, not the wishbone.
Yeah, they've been running the wishbone. You saw them play Troy last year.
Yeah, I know it. So this guy is going to keep up the option. Then you know.
They really don't technically run the wishbone anymore. They run the flex option.
Yeah.
They got these wing backs.
Boy, that's going to be a big game for Troy.
You'll have a lot of people excited. The great Jeremy Ryle will be back in town. He coaches the Georgia Southern.
I tell you what, he was one of my all-time favorite players. I tell you what, Jeremy Ryle was a horse. I tell you what, a horse he was.
He married a girl from Luverne.
Yeah, I tell you, Jeremy Ryle was a quarterback, ladies and gentlemen, and he led Troy to the first 12-0 regular season record under Coach Blakeney. But you know he bench pressed 400 pounds.
I'm not surprised. He was a great player.
Now, I mean, that guy, he was, you talking about a beast. He was a beast at quarterback.
He could throw it good and
he
could
sure
run
could.
Good. I mean, he followed Kelvin Simmons, I think. So
Yeah.
Troy had for about 3 or 4 years, they were set at quarterback, man.
There are 2 great coaches that are out there.
Georgia Southern beat Arkansas State 59-33.
Boy, oh boy, whoa, 59-33. So we can look for a lot of offense in the stadium this weekend. Is that right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Troy's got the 3rd best defense in the country. So, I mean, Troy's defense has been showing out.
Yeah, I know it.
Well, and Arkansas State probably has, just like I just referenced, has one of the worst defenses in the country. So,
And the coach at Troy Hall got a lot of what he knows from a pretty good coach at UAB, don't you think? When he was at Jacksonville State.
Well, he was there, but he also was under Dick Coney for a year in Troy too. So
Yeah.
I would imagine Dick Coney probably would help you a lot.
You know what? That is right now. That is. I hate that. What kind of situation Coach Conan has had to live through as an assistant coach. I hope something could work out for him. He's a great
we
guy.
live in this politically correct culture, and you just say the wrong thing, man, and you're going to be.
You know what happened? As soon as that guy made all those accusations, that player ended up getting in the transfer portal, leaving the program.
Oh, really? No.
He left the team.
Yeah.
And a coach that's been coaching for 35 years, lost his job, and probably will never get another job again.
And it's been a tough situation. It really has.
I'll give you an example of how politically incorrect we are, or you mean to leave it alone?
Yeah, leave it alone. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Because we got.
I'll tell you off the air. It's nothing that would shock anybody, but it's just who knows. And nowadays,
let me.
I tell you what, though, this scares you about Texas State. If Troy plays next week, South Alabama, who almost beat Lafayette, who's 3-1, is on the road against Texas State, and they're only a 3.5-point favorite.
I can't believe that.
South Alabama is?
Boy, I tell you, I can't believe it.
Actually started at 1.5 and up at 3.5.
Well, I can see something. Evidently, they're not moving the ball very well at South Alabama. They don't score a lot of points.
You know what? One of the games that really surprised me was Liberty ended up putting it on UAB.
I know it. It really surprised me too.
That was such a big event, dedicating this beautiful stadium. And, it was tied at halftime, but in the second half, when it mattered, Liberty just blew out UAB. That's what I always thought, is you can compare where Troy is and UAB by comparing how they did at home against Liberty, and Troy did better.
Yeah.
A shocking game over the weekend. I don't know if you looked at some scores, but we didn't mention this yesterday, but, Gus Malzahn is at Central Florida, and I thought he'd win 10 games, but losing his quarterback in a heartbreaking loss to Louisville. They ended up losing to Navy, of all teams.
I know it. I couldn't get over that.
Yeah, I saw that.
I could not get over that.
I actually bet them to win 10 games or 9 games, but
he got Gatewood to transfer in real late from Kentucky, like in August, and I don't know if Gatewood's eligible or not, the former Auburn quarterback. So I don't know what he's going to do at quarterback down there, but that's going to definitely affect this season.
Well, I tell you what, that is a tough break for him, no question about it. Coach Malzahn was the coach at Auburn. That his buyout at Auburn, was $15 million?
Something like that.
20-something $million to leave Auburn. So he's a very wealthy man, and he's still coaching
Central
football.
Florida's probably paying him what? $3 million a year.
Yeah, probably are. You're exactly right.
Nobody gets paid more than college football.
But you know something, you might have a situation here where he might be coaching free, because he probably could have had a situation on what can I do with him.
He's got to be getting paid.
So he got to bring the money plus get a $3 million salary. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. They paid him in one block sum. Sometimes they spread it out over 10 years. And then they do reduce your salary by the salary you're making at your new place.
Yeah.
But I think with Malzahn, they just bit the bullet, wrote him a big check.
Yeah. Let me tell you something.
There's a guy on, if you read that little yellow tag, leave me, you don't want it. He probably took care of that.
And did you see the results of the Yellowwood 500 at Talladega yesterday?
Oh, yeah, the Bubba Wallace won, the African-American driver.
First African-American driver to win a NASCAR race.
And I love it. It was at Talladega. That was great.
I never even knew
Since
there was any
1963.
African-American that had won a NASCAR race, but apparently there was.
Like you said, first since 1963.
But it was a race. It was postponed by rain, and so they just called the race. It had about 70 laps left. But I didn't know that the sponsor of the Talladega 500 fall race is Yellowwood.
Yeah. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah, that's right. Katie Brett, who we had the Troy game, that's running for senator.
Oh yeah.
To go out and what's it called when they go out there and announce? I guess the.
Oh yeah. The starting.
Official race
Yeah, that's right. Yes, that's big to do. Yeah.
I need Joel Amos to educate me on NASCAR.
Yeah.
Well, it's struggling compared to where it was 10, 15 years ago because they've lost all their big names have retired, and you know it's an expensive to go to these races, and attendance like it is at all sporting events is really down.
You know, I tell you something that you better be aware of when you go to one of these races. You've got to have earplugs, or you'll be miserable.
I've never even been to one. Have you been to one?
I've been to one before, and I've been a couple of them, and let me tell you this: the noise is unreal.
I like watching it on.
Yeah.
I like watching the super speedway races on TV, the Talladega and Daytona. Or I used to. I don't watch them anymore.
Mike, I learned something this weekend, and I want everybody to hear it. Georgia is a physical, I'm talking about a real physical football team up front. The tackles and the defensive tackles and the guards and whatever, they are a tremendous physical football team. Alabama
Yeah, you know,
is a...
yesterday that J.T. Daniels still can't throw, so looks like Stetson Bennett will get the start against Auburn.
I don't think
so why is everybody afraid of Stetson Bennett?
Yeah.
Is Auburn afraid of Stetson Bennett?
I don't think so. I wouldn't think so at all.
Stetson Bennett beat Auburn last year when he was a starter.
Well, Stetson Bennett is a lot better than people say. The quality, he was pretty good last year.
Yeah. Well,
most people thought that he was a liability, and so, he's now the man at Georgia.
Yeah. Let me just tell you this. I learned this so well. I mean, Georgia was an extremely physical football team on both sides of the ball. All right, Alabama is an extremely physical football team on both sides of the ball.
Not as physical as
I will say this right now. There's these two teams, Alabama and there's Georgia, and the rest of them all take a back seat. Georgia and Alabama are by far the two best football teams because they're so physical up front. They were throwing people around. They made Arkansas look like a bunch of junior high kids. They really did. They killed them. I mean, the way they blocked.
I tell you what, that Bryce Young is a lot better quarterback than J.T. Daniels or Stetson Bennett. I'll say that.
Well, Bryce Young has proved himself.
You see Bryce Young throws. I mean, he throws just a perfect pass. He's got velocity behind it too. And in the world, Alabama got this Jamison Williams kid out of Ohio State. This guy was running third or fourth best receiver at Ohio State. That dude is a physical freak as well.
Yeah, he really is.
He stand on kickoff to make tackles on kickoff. He run two kickoff back for touchdown. He's a real physical attractive catch. I mean, he's been a phenomenal pickup.
Well, Auburn is coming around.
Alabama's offensive coordinator, what he said, man, if Ohio State's not worried about losing people like this in the transfer portal, I want to see who they got.
I know it. Everybody lining up.
And Billingsley's just playing unbelievable. Tight end, black, big receiver. I mean, that kid's phenomenal too. He's open every single time.
But again, though, the physicality is at Georgia and Alabama is far stronger than anybody else around.
Here's what Alabama needs, and I think it's starting to happen. The offensive line to come together, and it takes. Everybody says you're an old coach. It takes a while for you to get the chemistry.
Oh yeah, it does, sure.
And Alabama has 3 new starters on the offensive line, but I think they're starting to the light's starting to come on.
I tell you one thing, Rice. That center's got to get that snap down. Man, he snapped it high the whole game against Ole Miss.
And that had a lot to do with the timing in the backfield too. They need to work on that. I'm sure they will.
Said something that said that the coaches had said that Dalcourt's his name is doing a good job, and then the left guard, who was a new starter, they said he's going to be a real good player.
He's the Cohen kid out of Opelika. You know, that was a late. He was going to Auburn at the last minute, and
I think they like him, and he seems to be a real tough blocker, run blocker especially. And then they moved the other center out to right tackle, and he got beat a couple times early in the season, but I watched him in the playbacks against Ole Miss, and he looks like he's getting better.
We're going to bounce around a little bit this morning like we always do.
Chris Owens, that was another guy that came back for 6 years. I mean, that was huge for Alabama.
Yeah. And then the left tackle is, they say, might be the #1 pick in the whole NFL draft. He's a freak. He's 6'6", 340 pounds.
For Alabama?
Evan Neal. He's actually bigger than that, right? He's like 6'7".
Of course, these guys are huge. You know, you want to know the difference in Troy and the big boys like Alabama and Georgia and Ole Miss, you know, is the big difference is Troy's guys are 6'3", 6'4". The SEC guys 6'6", 6'7", 6'8". That's a big difference in the not only the ability, but their big.
They got long arms, isn't that what they?
Yeah, exactly.
They can pass blocking.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the big thing at the NFL draft. They measure arms when it comes to linemen and hand size when it comes to.
You notice right here, he's got one hand out, and then the other one is holding on to him real tight. On the inside, they'll let you do it.
I think that Robinson, running back for Alabama, is a player. He's a tough. He's not flashy, but he can get in the tough 4 yards.
Is he real fast, Mike? What kind of 40? Did he have a 4.5 time?
I'm sure he's a 4.5. Something like that. I wouldn't say 4.4, but probably 4.5.
Yeah. But don't you think we did?
Better than 4.6.
He reminds me kind of if you remember Saban's first year or two, he had a running back named Glenn Coffey.
I remember him.
Yeah, I can see that.
He was just hard-nosed.
Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Am I right, Mike?
He just got yards. He wasn't really jukey or anybody, but he was tough and physical, and that's kind of like Brian Robinson is like him, but a little bigger.
He's only.
He runs similar to me to T.J. Yeldon.
He's more upright.
Kind of look like that.
More upright running.
I think Yeldon was faster and probably better catching the ball in the backfield.
Well, let's look at losing McClellan, Mike. He was a pretty good football player.
He was a really good receiver. He was a.
McClellan was.
Yeah, he was a good special teams player too. He recovered a touchdown.
They'll miss him
on a special teams play. I think he had 5 or 6 tackles.
I just hope he can come back from the injury and be 100%. You know, some running backs can do it with a knee injury, and some can't.
It's 8:07.
I lost a guy down going on a kickoff late in the game against Ole Miss too. He'll be out against Texas for the first half with targeting. I mean, he just leveled the guy on the kickoff late in the game.
Well,
I've never even seen that guy. What's his name? Blackshear or something?
No, now let's talk. Well, I've talked about Alabama. We don't talk about enough about Auburn. We've been told by some of our viewers.
Now, but we're gonna take a short break
first. I want to talk about Auburn's this freshman running back Auburn has.
Boy, they're fast.
He is good. How did we miss out
Auburn
on this guy?
I don't know, but they're loaded. They got 3 running backs, don't they?
They all can play.
Yeah. We'll be back after this.
It's fall sale days on GE appliances at Bracken Appliance in Enterprise in Dothan. Our warehouses are loaded with appliances. Get great savings on these 4 sets of washers and dryers, starting as low as $449 each or $898 for the pair. Shop now for special savings on GE laundry at Bracken Appliance in Enterprise in Dothan. Take it home with you or Bracken will deliver. Buy local.
Check out the scoreboard. J.D. Power's #1 in initial quality midsize truck. Jeep Gladiator. 0 APR for 36 months. And no payments for 90 days. Shop PremierTroy.com today during Jeep Adventure Days and save thousands. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
Forevermark Diamonds. Beautiful, rare, responsibly sourced. Available at Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry.
Check out the scoreboard. J.D. Power's #1 in initial quality truck. Ram. #1 longest lasting truck. Ram. Right now. Get 0% APR for 72 months on new Ram. Shop PremierTroy.com during Ram Power Days and save. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
Bracken Appliance, the largest appliance store in the Wiregrass, is the place to go to find your dream kitchen. Choose from names like Wolf, Sub-Zero, GE's Cafe Line, and KitchenAid. If a dream kitchen is in your future, you owe it to yourself to shop Bracken Appliance. Bracken specializes in customer service, friendly, knowledgeable sales staff with that special touch to make you feel welcome. Dream no more about your new kitchen. Find it at Bracken Appliance. Come on in, buy local and take it with you, or Bracken will deliver.
The kid from Gardendale came in fourth and won $280,000, right? So they played Alabama, Trey Mullen.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Ladies and gentlemen,
he's back on the PGA Tour.
He's the one that was hitting the head with a golf ball.
Yeah, is that right? Ladies and gentlemen, this show is brought to you by Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram trucks on the bypass in Troy. And right now, they just came off of the big tent sale, but let me tell you, I'm sure there are a few cars left in that price range that you can go and save a ton of money. I'm talking about a ton of money from Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram trucks on the bypass. I talked to Jason last night, and he says, man, we had a great September, fixing to have a great October because of you out there. And of course, Jason does so many things. Jason, as far as things for schools and so many other things. Yeah.
So, Dad, so say this: we went to Premier Dodge Chrysler Jeep, and we were a car salesman for a day. It was you, Rice, and me. Who do you think would have the best chance to sell a car?
Me.
At Premier Dodge Chrysler Jeep.
Me.
I would probably be okay, but I don't think I would get beat by the two Amoses. I think.
I don't know. What are you getting to?
You got.
No. I'm just saying. Like, we all have backgrounds. You know, I have backgrounds in sales. I mean, Dad, you have backgrounds doing anything. I guess. I mean, you did a little bit of everything.
He is sold. You've been salesman your whole life.
I'm just saying, if we tried to be a salesman for a day, you think any of us could sell a vehicle?
I believe so, no question about it.
Well, the product is a big part of it, and the service, and
I would have a big old sign up there that says, "Believe you me, I'll beat anybody's price, anybody's." And I tell you what, it's a great deal.
If it was easy, everybody could do it.
Yeah. That's right.
My dad that worked for you, he worked, I guess, for ADECA. And didn't he sell cars on the weekends?
Oh yeah.
On the weekends?
And let me tell you what he did. He went in on Sunday, and he said nobody else was in there.
When everybody was looking.
And if you think about it, so many people go to a car lot on Sunday because they don't want a salesman bugging them. They just want to go look at the cars. Well, he hung around on Sunday and sold 4 or 5 cars a weekend. So he didn't even go in until Sunday, and he'd sell 4 or 5 cars on Sunday. Yeah. And you're out there, but wouldn't you think that most of the folks out there would want to be out there on Sunday looking at cars?
They want to slow down and think about
it. That's right. Yeah.
Saturday and Sunday, I think, are big days.
Of course, we got a great week coming in there with Troy Ben playing at home against a very good Georgia Southern team. And like Mike said, Jeremy Rowell.
Yeah, I don't know why you keep on saying very good Georgia Southern team. They're 2-3. They're not like world beaters.
Well, well, they're pretty good when they scored that many points this past weekend against a Sun Belt Conference school, and they were pretty good. But they gave up a bunch of scores too, didn't they?
Haven't they beat?
Well, they gave up 33. The only other win was against a one AA team. They barely beat, I think, Carson Newman.
Hasn't Georgia Southern kind of had Troy's number in recent years? Or?
Well, Troy won.
Troy had won 3 in a row until they got beat last year. Yeah. And Troy probably should have won the game last year.
Oh, no question.
Free had a tough day, throws the ball, and then Troy let that one running back go about 80 yards for a touchdown. Yeah, that really hurt them.
You know what? They're running backs and their linemen are all good-looking linemen. But you know what? It's the way they dress. It sounds crazy, but they wear that they wear the cuff under so their biceps can be seen. So have you ever seen a team that does that? They'll tie pads under. Let me tell you this: they're the best-looking team, They wear just regular blue and white jerseys, gray pants.
Wear their numbers on their helmet.
Numbers on the helmet like Alabama.
But one stripe on their helmet like Alabama.
Or like Penn State's a lot like that too. And boy, they really play good football at Georgia Southern.
What teams have the numbers on the helmets? I think it's just Alabama and Georgia Southern.
Yeah, I saw somebody the other day, but he had just the numbers on one side and then the decal on the other side.
Oh, so.
I tell you, a good-looking uniform was Mississippi State, all white against A&M. I like their uniform.
Yeah, and you heard me say this yesterday. You heard me say this. Watch out for Mississippi State.
I know it.
They've got a big defensive front, Mike, an impressive defensive front. So I've always said if you can match up with folks up front, and they're probably pretty darn good on offense too. But they got a quarterback that he don't play, man. Hey, he's a good one.
Yeah, Alabama's got Texas A&M at Texas A&M, and Alabama might sleepwalk past this one now. It was going to be a big game, and now everybody thinks Alabama's going to have no problems. So
I don't know if he actually.
But then the next week, Alabama's got to go to Mississippi State. That's a tough 2-week stretch. And then Auburn's got Georgia. Who does Auburn have after Saturday?
Oh, Auburn's got a brutal schedule. Georgia at Arkansas, back home playing Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, and then on the road at Texas A&M.
Alabama is a 17.5-point favorite going into Texas A&M.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that line. I see Alabama struggling for some reason in that game. I mean, it's 102,000 fans. I mean, I feel like they just played really one of the worst games you possibly play against Mississippi State. I think A&M is a little bit better than people think.
And, you know, they got so much pressure on them because the girls have so much pressure on them because when they score a touchdown, they kiss their date in front of everybody. And, you know, I know there's some girls out there that'll be going out there Saturday that don't really like their date, you know, don't like it. I don't want to have to kiss him, but you know, but when he brung you, you dance with who brung you.
Yeah.
And so you have to kiss him.
Is there cadets? They're a military school, A&M? How does that work? How do they have all that?
It's a military school.
Well, they have an ROTC program.
Yeah, ROTC.
So all those guys are ROTC, or is it something else?
Yeah.
No, everybody is not ROTC.
You can do it, and I guess it's a tradition to do it. I think what they have is you have it, and then you have the option of going ahead and getting the commission, but you don't have to get the commission in the 3 or 4 or 5, 6 year commitment. But I'm not sure.
Did you know when I was going to school that did you know at Jacksonville State and then at Auburn and other people, you were mandatory ROTC. Did you know that?
Well,
it was I had to make them my bed and do all kinds of stuff because you had inspection every morning.
VMI was that Mr. Murphy and a lot of people went to. That was it's kind of a quasi-military school, not like the Citadel.
But BMI was a prestigious military school, though.
But a lot of people Dad took ROTC, played football, took ROTC. Pat Dye took ROTC.
And I want to say he graduated with a commission.
When he got cut in the NFL, he went straight into the U.S. Army as a second lieutenant.
As a second lieutenant.
Played football in the Army.
Yeah.
So Pat Dye.
Now, you know, he continued his military career, but it was
He did it for 2 years, which you had to do, I think. And then he got out, and then he got back in the National Guard. Back then, people got in the National. You know why people got in the National Guard back then? They didn't want to go to Vietnam.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
If you get in the National Guard, you're going.
Exactly. That's the craziest thing in the world. You're right. Back when I was growing up, hey, if you
got in the National Guard,
you got out of it, and I did. You
want to hear something shocking?
I had a head injury.
Georgia Southern has 26,000 students.
Isn't that amazing? That is amazing.
26,000.
I know it.
Like an SEC school.
I know it, and it's made that a big town. And it's back when we first started Division I AA, and then one Division II, then Division I AA. they were a 1AA school for a long time, but once they started school, started football, and they haven't been out there that long. They have grown and grown and grown.
Here's something else that people don't think enough about. What does Georgia and Florida have that Alabama doesn't have? Lottery scholarships.
That happens, yeah.
So if you get a B average in high school, you go to any college in Georgia, your education is paid for, brother. You don't have to take on all that debt
That's
that everybody
right.
else. So,
I think you have to have a B average. And,
Florida the same way. So all the schools in Georgia suddenly just skyrocketed in enrollment. And what did that do to Troy? Troy used to get 10% of their students from the state of Georgia
that's right.
and 20% from Florida.
Sure did.
Well, that dried up, man.
Sure did.
I mean, why are you going to pay out-of-state tuition when you can? The taxpayers will pay for it in Georgia or Florida.
Yeah.
So that hurt. What did Troy have to do to make up the loss of all those Georgia and Florida students? They went after the international students.
Yeah, that's right.
The Chinese students.
It had a lot to do with that.
But Troy, and also they went Division I, which increased our brand and helped us recruit with other state colleges. But you think if Georgia and Florida had not started these lottery scholarships, Troy might have 7,500 students on campus now. We would have had 15,000.
Let me tell you something. I will say this: it's amazing. You know, band is big business in Georgia. You know the bands and everything. Well, Troy still recruits a lot of band students from Georgia, and I've asked them several times that they were willing to sacrifice sacrifice the ability to save money, but they wanted to play in the Sound of the South marching band.
They paid that out-of-state tuition.
Yeah. Well, some of the borderline schools around towns around the state,
about that.
They are able to recruit some Troy
Georgia Southern
students.
26,000 students.
I know it. That's on campus.
When I was at the University of Alabama, it had 19,000 students. So that is 4 times the enrollment of Troy University on campus enrollment, approximately. Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, but I've never really thought about it. But if Georgia and Florida had not done these lottery scholarships, the enrollment of Troy University would be massively larger.
Yeah, no question. Because we used to really recruit the Columbus, Georgia area.
I've researched it, Mike, and you can go back and at one point, 20% of Troy's enrollment was from the state of Florida, 10% was from the state of, 70% was from the state. Now you might have 5% from Florida, 2 or 3% from Georgia, and they're all athletes.
When I was
if you just had those same percentages. Man.
When I was at Troy, we had whirls of students from South Florida, and I'm talking about pretty girls too. And you could tell them, you could ride down, you'd be riding down the road. These girls and boys had these good tans. They were South Florida girls and boys, and we don't get that anymore like we used to.
Well, now Alabama could do a lottery scholarship, but it's just going to be. I mean, you're just going to be. Maybe getting some more.
I thought Florida students still didn't have to pay out-of-state tuition in Troy.
No, it's just these borderline counties I think they've got a deal set up with, but on down into Florida, I don't think you do. I don't think so.
But still, even Alabama state tuition of whatever tuition is per semester is a lot more than free, which is what they get if they go to Central Florida or West Florida or wherever they want to go.
I will tell you this, most every Troy graduate, and I would say almost every Troy student has some type of aid.
The days of the daddy writing tuition checks, I mean, you might have 5% of your student body that can still do that, but most of them are getting loans.
Yeah, and of course that's good. You got grants. They have, every college has to have a good loan procedure and also a grant procedure, and most, like you said, most all these students have some type of grant.
Well, because tuition is I've talked about it on the show. Inflation is the other big story in this world. We talk about COVID, but watch inflation. Inflation in higher education is far outpaced even, grocery store inflation or other inflation. The cost of tuition and room and board is just, I don't even know what. I'm going to have to learn one day when my kids go to school. I guess you did it. You were probably one of those few daddies that wrote a check.
I don't know, but I was proud to have two of my children graduate from Troy, and they've had a good education. And then my daughter
I worked in the
graduated at Auburn.
athletic department on a scholarship, thanks to Johnny Williams.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it was good to have a little aid.
I had a ROTC scholarship for 2 years.
Yeah.
So that helped.
Well, and of course, if you don't have any aid, you need to go out and find some, because there's a lot of scholarships out there. And,
this is interesting. I was reading up on my league the other day, and then I found this interesting. There's 9 coaches in college football right now that never played a down in college football.
I know he won one.
My league is at the top of the list. He was born in California, raised in Wyoming. And actually, I think he got like a history degree or something like that. Went to BYU to college, Leach did, and he followed a lot of those great LaBella Edwards teams. But my leagues never played college football.
Dude's coach didn't pay.
Manny Diaz, the Miami Hurricanes coach, never played college football. Eli Drinkowitz, the Missouri coach, never played college football.
Boy, he looks at, let me tell you, I saw him interviewed. Man, oh man, I can't believe he'd coached a Division I team.
Starting to get some little heat.
David Cutcliffe at Duke.
That's right.
I think he was a manager.
Manager at Alabama. He was a manager of Alabama. Joe Namath and them were there, I think.
Then this guy was Spike Dykes' son. He's had a good career coaching too. Sonny Dykes. He never played college football. He's the head coach.
Yeah.
They're undefeated this year. Ryan Silverfield at Memphis. Never played college football as the head coach. And then Bill Clark, everybody's favorite coach, Bill Clark at UAB. Never played college football as the head coach at UAB. And then Hugh Freeze.
Yeah.
He's one of the best coaches out there. Never played a down in college football and is the head coach at Liberty. Yeah. One other coach out there is a guy named Bobby Hawks that's at Montana. Never played college football.
So that's 9 out of 129. That
is something, yeah.
And then I bet there's a lot that were just walk-ons and never saw the field.
But that is a great report, Mike.
Franchoni had never played college football.
Franchoni. How many times I miss getting to do this? Franchoni.
Well, look like Tuberville. Did he play college football?
What's your opinion on that as far as a player? Would you want to play for somebody that at least played in college and can relate to you?
Yeah. Let me say something since I got it on my mind. Coaches that are out there now that like Bill Curry and like Franchoni. Can you believe those two guys right there left on their own accord? Franchoni went to where Texas A&M, or where did he go?
Yeah, Texas A&M.
He went to Texas A&M.
He left Alabama.
And Bill Curry left Alabama to go to Kentucky. See, those are two coaches that you won't see much, that left Alabama to go to another coaching job on his own accord.
It's a little easier to win football games in Alabama than it is Texas A&M or Kentucky.
Yeah. Curry was a perfect guy at Kentucky back in those days. They didn't care anything about football anyway. They were more concerned about basketball.
Kentucky thought they had such a coup, because Curry was number 2, had Alabama number 2 in the country and undefeated until Auburn beat them, and then they lost in the Sugar Bowl. And it's a myth that Curry was fired.
Yeah.
He was not fired. He had 2 years left on that contract.
That's right.
He left on his own.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
He might not have felt particularly welcome, but he could have stayed if he wanted to.
And Franchoni left to go to A&M, I reckon, wasn't it?
Remember his saying was hold the rope. Alabama was going through all this NCAA stuff.
Yeah.
And he said, hold the rope, we're going to get through it. And then he bolts to Texas A&M first chance he gets.
And one of the great guys, what great people was Shula, and a lot of people would have loved for Shula, that Shula name to been associated with Alabama, for a long time, but it didn't work out that way. But Mike Shula was a very popular.
I would say Nick Saban is thank God saved all of us.
Oh yeah, exactly. But Shula though, the fans loved Shula.
He did the best he could.
He was the coach that when the wide receiver Prothro got hurt.
Even Shula had one good year for 8 or 9, 10 games.
Yeah. Of course, we've got run out of time. We want to wish you a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow bright and early for Today in L.A.